I have been to many conventions. I have never been to a more fun convention or a convention with better vibes.
That was, of course, ousted Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson, who snagged a top spot in the final night of the Republican National Convention on Thursday. Now, Mr. Carlson has had a love-hate-love relationship with former President Trump, including a series of texts that were exposed in the case between Fox and Dominion voting systems. Tucker appears to have changed his tune again on the twice-picked presidential nominee, from saying he hates Trump in those 3-year-old texts to praising him these days. Here is more from Tucker Carlson. Let's watch.
This is a law of nature. And in that moment, Donald Trump, months before the presidential election, became the leader of this nation. And Donald Trump, whatever you say about him, and I think he's a wonderful person. I know him well. By the way, the funniest person I've ever met in my life, actually. You can't be funny without perspective or without empathy, which is true. But everything else about Trump aside, he actually cares. Because he's interested in the people who live here because that's his job. A father's job, his duty is to his family. An officer's duty is to his men. A president's duty is to his citizens. And he seems to be the only one who thinks that. And in his choice for vice president, J.D. Vance, he's made that really clear.
Tucker Carlson wrapped his speech to a standing ovation at the RNC. And an excitement that transitioned seamlessly on social media, with several users on X revering this 11-minute keynote address. Megyn Kelly, his former co-host at Fox, had this to say: absolutely beautiful by Tucker Carlson. He had everyone riveted, no notes, no prompter, spoke eloquently from the heart. What a moment. Others called him most inspiring, phenomenal, and applauded him for not using a teleprompter. I think that's a low bar, though, right? to be presented with an audience that is already primed to cheer everything that is said from the podium, and then to now at this point be given credit for being able to talk without a teleprompter, right? I mean, that was a litany of the anti-Biden talking points. And to be blunt, this is what Tucker was known for on his television show, right? Had a whole platform that allowed him to capture and be riveted with that audience, got fired from that platform, Fox News, and now was at the same event with the owner, with Rupert Murdoch. I mean, the Fox Trump thing. What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, just to, if our audience isn't familiar with the text that we were referencing there in the introduction, so people might have forgotten the times when Tucker Carlson, well, it transpired that he was much more skeptical of Trump than he was publicly letting on. And so these were text conversations in 2021 where he said, quote, "We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights," unquote, and, quote, "I truly can't wait," end quote. And that just, I think, is indicative of how he presents a particular public persona that is obviously enormously pro-Trump, while having said completely different things in the past, suggesting a sort of a willingness, I think, to get close or be close to power and to protect his own position. I do find it odd that someone for whom these things are on the record can position themselves as a kind of figure of moral courage in some fashion.
Well, that's exactly what the vice presidential pick on the Republican side is doing is J.D. Vance. I mean, he had an entire book in which he said that Trump was either a useful idiot or going to be Hitler. And now he gets on the stage 4 years later and talks about how Trump is the thing and he supports him. So that's kind of what the RNC stage ended up being, were these people who formerly criticized Trump now being brought out to accolades and appreciation, and they get the power and the access that comes with that in exchange for disavowing or pretending like the previous things and criticisms simply didn't exist. Is that, is Fox News going to be able to pull that same type of turnaround with Trump? Because Trump came out in favor of Tucker when he got fired. Trump felt like Fox News wasn't doing him the kind of service that he wanted. They were being too critical. Actually, it all stemmed from Fox News being the first one to call Arizona for
right.
Biden, which was based on the numbers, based on facts.
Unproven correct.
Trump, right, and it's proven in court now. Trump didn't like that. Is this what we're seeing at the RNC, is kind of the making up of that relationship?
Possibly. I mean, I do think the media picture in relation to conservative media and Trump is very interesting. I mean, what clearly happened, if you look back at that whole court case, was that Fox, in the immediate aftermath of the 2020 election, was very worried about losing audience share to outlets even further to the right than it is or was. So now you have Tucker Carlson having this very prime speaking slot at the Republican National Convention. Rupert Murdoch somewhat more sidelined, it would appear. He was there, but obviously Rupert wouldn't be speaking from the stage. A very interesting dynamic there, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, that conservative ecosystem is certainly very powerful, and it's part of what we talk about with mainstream media, right? This is linear television, cable news, the place that all the elected officials go to make their rounds, including the Republicans on Fox, the Democrats on MSNBC, and it's hard to understand where that sense of common ground will come in that unity, but clearly the Republican National Committee they were pushing that unity message throughout, and their sense of unity was very Tucker Carlson, Viktor Orban, very much in that Christian nationalist. This is what the country should look like and should feel like, and they tried for some diversity on that stage.
On the Carlson point, not to get us off the diversity issue, but on the Carlson point, what is your read on whether he has actual political ambitions himself or not? I couldn't figure that out. Watching him, he clearly lapped up the applause. He was speaking from the stage at a political convention. There had, as you know, been at one time speculation about him as like a running mate or whatever. Yeah. Do you think he has any inclination to that, or do you think he's just happy being his media?
Oh, well, I think he was very unhappy having lost his massive media platform and being able to just have this audience that is feeding you energy and you're that call and response thing. It's something I think Biden's struggling with too, and this is probably the only time I will compare the two of them, because as individuals and policies are very different. But that idea of once you're in that position where you get people to listen to you and you feed off their energy, Trump, Biden, Tucker, they come alive
for sure in
front of an audience in a way they just don't on a teleprompter or something else, and that type of feedback, and I think it's very hard for them to let it go. So if that were offered to him as politics, I think he'd take it. But I certainly don't think any of these, the guys are doing this for a true act of public service, and they have a part of the system that they really want to fix. That's not what politics is to them. No,
certainly not. And I think politics is increasingly resembling a sort of form of celebrity, quite honestly, and that's a big part of the deal. Anyhow, we shall see you for more Rising after this.